Homemade, ready-to-eat cereals are a healthy choice. Making your own granola means you are in control of the ingredients. This can give you a healthier choice and a less expensive one than commercial or packaged cereals.
Granola is another ready-to-eat cereal that is very, very popular. Granola is a generic name for any rolled oat-based cereal that has been prepared but ready to eat with various things in it. And that's where the problem comes in for us, because there's so much in it. We can have a granola, even though that's not called granola, but it's 50% nuts and fruit. So we have a great variety of what to choose from, as well as the packaging. Boxes, which we know are more expensive, you can also get it in a plastic bag, which is less expensive. But that's not the whole story. You always have to look back to the nutritional information that's on the back and the list of ingredients and for the sugar, the fiber, the whole grain, the fruits, the nuts, whatever is in it, and buy the best buy. However, the very best way to do it is make your own. Granola is usually oat-based, but not necessarily. If you wanted to, you could go to the bulk food stores, the best place, and buy multigrains, and you'll find that sometimes you can get them without oats in them, which could also be added to it. It's wonderful to make the granola because you have your own choices. You can put in it exactly what you want to put in it, what your family likes. We have a variety of grains that can go in, the bran and the wheat germ. But then we can choose, once we get to the fruit, we can put in things like coconut, we can put in raisins, apricots, which are wonderfully high in iron, and banana chips. These are just some choices that we could have. Keep in mind, though, the cost. Nuts and seeds become more expensive, and they do have good nutrients in them. This is cracked wheat, which could go in, sunflower seeds, sesame seeds, flax seeds, and then in nuts, peanuts are actually your best price of nut, and then almonds are the next. Then you go into walnuts and pecans and macadamia nuts. They become more and more expensive. You'll notice from what I have here, the very best place to buy nuts and seeds and spices is in the bulk bin. Now we're going to make one package of granola, and the recipe for this is in your How to Cook book, and you can vary it just however you like, but just stay to the proportions as I explained in a few moments. Since granola is rolled oat based, we're going to be using the large flake oats this time. Give a nice look to it, because texture and look are important for foods. So 6 cups of rolled oats. This one I store right in the bag always, so that I can remember that it's rolled oats and not get the large flake and not get it mixed up with the quick stuff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And measurements are level. It's not quite as critical in this particular recipe, but it's critical in other recipes. Clean up as you go along, put things away. 1 cup of wheat germ. Wheat germ should be stored in the refrigerator, or freezer is even better, because the fat goes rancid and there's a little bit of fat in wheat germ, so we should keep it in the freezer. We don't use that much of it, often a few tablespoons here and there. 1 cup. Seal it down. We put it back in the refrigerator or the freezer. 1 cup of bran. Store your grains in containers where they're easy to get at and easy to measure. And level it off, approximately. We'll be a little more precise when we start to do some other kind of baking. We need 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. And we're going to put some brown sugar into it. Or we could put white sugar. An interesting thing about sugar is, you know, white sugar is a lot less expensive than brown sugar. However, brown sugar gives an awfully nice taste. We could also put honey in it. Honey, again, is more expensive, but again, gives a nice taste. So it depends exactly what you want. 1 cup of brown sugar. And not to forget our salt, 1/2 teaspoon. Bring out all these natural flavors. Now comes the mixing time. We've got to mix this really well before we put other things in. Sometimes brown sugar can get a little hard. If it does get hard in your container, in your plastic bag, I always store it there to keep it more moist. But if it should happen to get hard, stick in some bread, because the moisture from the bread will soften the brown sugar up. We could go ahead and add more grains. Here's where the choices come in. But here's where we could be adding multi-grains, some Red River cereal, all kinds of other things in here as well. Or we can choose to go the fruit route. Let's go the fruit route this morning. A little more expensive, but tasty. Coconut is one of your least expensive fruits, or nuts, I should say. And I chose the shredded coconut because I like the looks of it. So I'm going to put in 1/2 cup of peanuts because they are the least expensive nut. Of course, you want to be careful about nut allergies and peanut allergies. Little baby children should never have peanuts under 2 years of age. You don't even try them out. The next one that's the cheapest is an almond. Now the almonds that you buy whole are the cheapest. So you can chop them yourself. And if you have a French knife, this is what I consider one of the basic knives that you should have. We're going to use it for chopping all kinds of things. But you notice the shape of it so that it can roll along the board like this. So we have a cutting board, keeping your fingers clear, put your hand on the point, and you just very carefully and very quickly chop your nuts. That's good enough for our granola. And we may even put a few slivers in just so you can see what they look like. They come in different ways. These are slivered and the others are chopped. Buy them in all kinds of ways. Oh, we've got our nuts in. We want some other seeds as well. Sunflower seeds are a very favorite with children and adults alike. And sesame seeds. Oh, 1/2 cup of sesame seeds. Now we have to add some oil. The oil will just make them cook a little browner. They do make them a little tastier, as I said, if kids will like it better because we're so used to sugar and fat, unfortunately. But you could just toast them like this. They would be very nice without either the sugar or the oil. But I'm going to have to measure now. 1/2 cup of vegetable oil. You could use melted butter. I've set the oven, preheated my oven to 250 degrees. We want a very low oven for this. Give it another little chop. Now, pour and stir. You can pour slowly and see if you can get as much, dribble it over it. If you were going to use honey in this, You can liquefy your honey by just putting it over the jar over some hot water, and then you would probably mix your liquid honey and your oil together. Would be a good way to mix it. All right, once it's all in, that doesn't, you have to remember that we are making, there's close to 10 to 12 cups in here, and we've only got half a cup of fat. It isn't as much in proportion as what it might seem when you're pouring it in. Now, we do want to roast it, or bake it, or toast it might be a better word. We use these pans. I'm going to dump half of it into one pan and half of it into the other. Now we're going to put it in the oven, the 250 oven. Sometimes we think we can like to speed things up a little bit, and we end up putting it in a 350 oven for less time. I'm never satisfied with the granola once it's done though. It really is nicer granola to have it done at the 250, which is a slower oven than it is for a longer period of time. All right, I'll tuck these into the oven. When you approach the oven at any time, get your products over to the oven before you open the oven door. We don't want to let heat escape any more than we have to. So one on the bottom shelf and one on the top shelf, staggered a little bit so that the heat can circulate around, but don't touch the sides. Shut the oven door quickly. Make a note of the time. And in half an hour, we'll go and stir them. And then in a couple of hours, when they get golden brown, we'll take them out and store them. While the granola is cooking, I want to have ready the raisins to go in. Any dried fruit that you put in should go in after they're cooked, because the dry fruit is already cooked, and if you give it 2 more hours in the oven, you will find that any dried fruit, apricot, raisins, whatever your dates, whatever you happen to be putting in, it'll be pretty hard with 2 hours more heat. So just get them ready, and we'll be prepared out here where I can see them. When they come out of the oven, we'll mix these raisins in with the granola then. How the granola is getting along. Pretty good. I need to stir it halfway through, so pull this up for the oven door shut. Don't lose our heat. Give it a stir. Sometime around the edges, particularly if you're using the higher temperature, it gets hotter, but it's not so thick. Just spread it around again. Give it a mix and back into the oven. Do the same now for the other one. Put your oven door right down. So you can see there where it's getting a little brown around the edges. What I'm going to do is switch them. Whenever you're using 2 things in an oven, you have your oven racks positioned at 1/3 and 2/3 of the oven. Then you put them in halfway through the cooking time, you switch them. So I want this one to go on the top. I want this one to go on the bottom. Okay. Set our timer again. Oh, time's up. Let's have a look. I think so. I'll take them out. Put them up on the cooling racks. And there we are. Okay. We can leave them to cook or to cool for a wee bit longer if we want to, but let's not forget to put those raisins in, or any other dried fruit that you might be using. Once they've thoroughly cooled, we'll just pack them into our containers and they're all ready to go.